This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the new media production studio. The lead stories are Meta is threatening to pull Facebook Instagram from Europe. Health sites let ads track visitors. The cost to fire Huawei. Amazon raises salary caps by 50%. I want to welcome you to episode 1584 of the Geek News Central podcast for Monday, February 7th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to all the new listeners of the show. Make sure you get over to geeknewscentral.com, get signed up for the show, follow or subscribe. You can do that via the right-hand column of the website. While you're there, definitely sign up for the newsletter as well. You can follow all our co-shows, in other words, all of our partner shows on the website as well. They're linked at the top of the website, so make sure that you do that. Of course, I want to welcome you again to the podcast, and I tell you what, you can always join our chat room at geeknews.chat or our Discord server. You can contact me via email at geeknews@gmail.com or at geeknews on Twitter. Of course, I'm on Facebook as well. Just search my name, Todd Cochran. Partner shows are all, again, linked at geeknewscentral.com. I want to thank you all for being here. This show is sponsored by the longest-running continuous sponsor of our podcast. That's our good friends at GoDaddy.com. Great way to save money. This is the key to save money with GoDaddy. Just go over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Lock in the savings. They haven't took off the $1.99. I was told they would. The $1.99 a month economy hosting is still available for the first year with a free domain, including the $2.99 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year, again with a free domain, or 30% off new product purchases. You can always pick up a brand new domain name, new or transfers for new customers only, at $4.99 as well. That free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal, business, or business plus plans. That's a 1-month free trial available for you. Definitely check it out. We want to thank everyone for your ongoing support of GoDaddy, the long-time sponsor here of the show. It's greatly appreciated when you do. And I tell you, all you got to do to help the show is go over there and pick up a product or service. And that is a great way to support the podcast, get you set up on something cool, website, you start a blog, start a podcast, start just any kind of business, you name it. They've got the tools over there for you to make it possible. And really, you save a lot of money, 94% per purchase by using my GoDaddy promo code, especially on the hosting accounts. 30% off regular product purchases, obviously, if you use the 30% off code. But again, definitely check it out at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Well, hello, everyone. How are you doing? I tell you, I've had nothing but trouble with the audio stack since I changed off that power conditioner. You don't hear it, but I hear it. I'm missing a channel. I've got it coming out to everyone so that it sounds like it's stereo or sounds like it's mono, but to me, it's driving me crazy. I can only hear myself in one ear. It's not a big deal, but something is amiss. Something is unhooked, broke, and beats me. I spent 30 minutes tonight trying to find it. Now, the last show, we were affected by low audio, and I thought I had it all dialed in. Was just a loose connector there. Got that all set up, and then got the headset on tonight. I'm like, what is going on? And when things go like that, it just drives me batty. So I'll be digging around, trying to figure out why I'm missing a channel here over the next couple of days. I'm going to have to dig through the stack, and that probably means uncoiling wires. But it might actually be the mixer, and I hope it is not. The mixer, I'd had a challenge with the right channel on it for a while. Every once in a while, it would pop out. So I don't know if it's just the mixer has decided that's it and it's dropped that right channel. But I got to do some tests to see what I can come up with. But because I took basically I route stuff through a deck, and when it's routed through the deck, it's through something called a channel insert. I usually can really very quickly narrow things down. I pulled the channel insert out tonight, and it just looked at me like, okay. So, and it probably what it is there's probably gotten some dust in one of the micro switches, and it's sticking. So I'll get it figured out on the next show. But no big deal for you. It sounds the same. Well, my car is still in the shop, but I made an interesting discovery. Friday night, I was driving by a repair shop that my family uses on a regular basis, and lo and behold, my car was parked over there, and all put back together. And I'm like, the auto body shop didn't tell me that they were sending it somewhere else to be worked on. And I checked my Ford app, and there was 3 sensor codes that was displayed in my app. So obviously, when they got back together, they had some electronic problems. So hopefully that shop will get it fixed up here quickly, and I'll get it back. But I got to call them tomorrow. Today was too busy. Hey, don't forget about donating to the show through the Podcast 2.0 apps. That's available if you want to donate or boost the post, boost the episode, and some Satoshis. Was not here last Thursday because we were underneath a snowstorm, and I was essentially stuck at the house. It had quit storming about the time the show would have went on, but the roads were pretty nasty. So I just kept my head down and moved on. But one thing that's you can always do is you can count on Mother Nature to throw a curveball in your schedule, and it's been kind of that way ever since. And I've been basically just working my tail off, keeping my head barely above water on a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. I had a very, very productive week last week, believe it or not. And I had another very productive day today. So when you're hitting it like 100% productivity, today may have been about 85, 80, but it was a good week last week to really get a lot of stuff knocked out. That said, let's go ahead and get into the content. Thanks for being here. A little bit, obviously, late getting started the show today, so some of you pop in. Toby, thanks for saying hello. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch or Twitter, make sure you say hello in the chat as well. And again, thanks for being here and being part of the family. All right, so a little bit of a slow news day, but I'm going to tell you, Meta, a.k.a. Facebook, is threatening to shut down Facebook and Instagram in Europe. So it's about money. Meta says its ability to serve targeted ad to users in Europe could be severely limited by European data regulations. Well, we already know that GDPR has put a significant hammer on collection of personal information. And Meta has warned in an SEC filing that could pull Facebook and Instagram from Europe if it isn't allowed to transfer user data from the European Union to the United States. And this sounds a little funny, but a ruling by a EU court in July of 2020 voided the U.S. Privacy Shield, which allowed American companies like Meta to collect and transfer data of EU subjects. Meta said the new limitations on transatlantic data transfers would have an adverse effect on its advertising business. So it's all about the money. It's about the advertising. So when they can't track you and monetize you, then maybe it's not worth for them to do business in the European Union. So there's other frameworks that they were relying upon to move data between its European and U.S. servers, such as a standard contractual clause. And those have been subject to regulatory scrutiny as well. And the draft decision by the Irish Data Protection Commission concluded that the social network's reliance on the SEC to transfer data of European users is not in compliance with GDPR. And that's one thing that my company did. We went GDPR globally, anonymized all data. Anytime you hit play on this show, while we do log the IP and we use that for processing of you being able to say where geolocation, where the users come from and what type of device, We anonymize that IP data and don't tie it in any way through any other sort of database or system to any. And matter of fact, it's all encrypted. I can't even get access to the log files once we process them. It's a significant hindrance if we want to do additional business and going further. But we're very privacy minded. So for us, it hasn't affected us a bit. Matter of fact, it's made us a preferred hosting partner with a number of companies just because of our privacy stance on protecting listeners. And because you guys have no way to opt in to be tracking, although if you're listening to some podcasts on some platforms, you are being very much so tracked. It's if you use Overcast, the app, it's going to tell you exactly how you're being tracked, and the data technology is being used by every hosting company. But depends on the show you're listening to. You're being tracked as much there as you are on Facebook, just because that's what they do, and they monetize off the stack. We don't do that at my company, not at all. Case in point, a new article out by Ars Technica talking about health sites letting ad track visitors without telling them. What they found by doing some analysis with third-party tools grab personal information from medical genetic testing company sites. In a recent study from Duke University and the patient privacy focus group, the Light Collective, 10 patient advocates who are active in the hereditary cancer community and cancer support groups on Facebook, including three who are Facebook group admins, downloaded and analyzed their data from the platform's off Facebook activity feature. The tool shows what information third parties are sharing with Facebook and its parent company, Meta, about your activity on other apps and websites, along with the retail and media sites that typically show up in these reports. The researchers found that several genetic testing and digital medicine companies had shared customer information with the social media giant for ad targeting. Now, think about that. They're sharing that back to Facebook to retarget you. Analysis of those websites using track identification tools like the EFF's Privacy Badger and the markup's Backlight revealed which ad tech modules companies had embedded on their sites. Then, the researchers then checked the company's privacy policy to see whether they permitted and disclosed this type of cross-site tracking and the flow of data to Facebook that can result in 3 of the 5 cases. The company's policies did not have clear language about third-party tools that might be used to retarget or re-identify users across the web for marketing. According to Andrea Downing, a co-author of the study, she says, my reaction was shock at realizing the big missing pieces in these policies. She said, and when we talked to some of these companies, it really seemed like they didn't fully understand the ad tech they were using. So they basically, companies are putting stuff in place. They have no idea. They're actually sharing information back on you to Facebook and other companies. So the U.S. FTC has established a health breach notification rule that applies to health-related organizations not covered by Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, but has never taken enforcement action under it. The agency gives examples of situations that could trigger enforcement, though, including one where a digital medicine company shares users' medical information and mobile identifiers with an ad network without a user's consent. So several of these companies are taking action as a result of the researchers' findings, and they're suspending ads on Facebook, removing trackers related to Facebook from their website. So I think what we need to think about here is all this stuff is so interlaced at this point that what ends up happening is we're just completely at the mercy of these companies and the digital ad tech they know everything. They know everything about us. Health data being shared. Let's say you're on a cancer site. Then does Facebook know that you're researching cancer, you have cancer, maybe a family member has cancer? They can put all these pieces together. It's very, very discerning to me. I think that what we need to do is start holding these companies accountable. Meta's business model hinges on personalized advertising. And we know the company announced made a decision to remove thousands of sensitive ad targeting categories related to topics like political beliefs, sexual orientation, religion, and race. The move also included removal of health-related categories like lung cancer awareness and chemotherapy. In its announcement about removing sensitive detailed targeting categories, Meta articulated the problem that they examined in their research. The internet targeting options are not based on people's physical characteristics or personal attributes, but instead of things like people's interaction with content. We've heard concerns from experts targeting options like these could be used in ways that lead to a negative experience. Well, yeah, you're basically tracking every move someone's doing. We know there's systematic privacy problems across the globe now. And we've often opted into it. Maybe all of us are just used to it now knowing that companies know more about us than maybe we even know about ourselves. It's kind of scary. Moving on here, the article on The Verge talking about the cost of ripping and replacing Chinese cellular equipment has ballooned by billions. In 2020, the estimate was $1.8 billion. Now it's $5.6. The estimated cost for replacing Huawei and ZTE equipment in U.S. network has increased. On Friday, the FCC Chairman Jessica Rosenworcel told Congress that providers had applied to be reimbursed for $5.6 billion for ripping and replacing equipment deemed insecure by the U.S. government. In September 2020, the FCC estimated the effort would be $1.8, and they need more money because it's a lot more. It's called the Supply Chain Reimbursement Program. It was put in place after intelligence agencies raised concerns about carriers building out their 5G networks with equipment from Chinese companies like Huawei. The FCC former chairman Ajit Pai said ZTE and Huawei were national security risk, and I wholeheartedly believe. Now, some of you are going to say, we're reimbursing these companies for $5.6 billion. I think it's a very cheap price to pay. I really, really do. Considering everything going on in the government right now, and with what's going on with China, I think it's just a rounding error considered everything else that's going on in the world. On a more interesting note, and one that kind of scares me, actually, wow, isn't that interesting? Let me check something here. Oh, I guess not. It's just they copied something that we do. But anyway, over in GeekWire, Amazon has announced they're doubling the max base pay to $350,000 for corporate and tech workers, citing labor market. So this is a crazy number. $350,000. Amazon boosts its maximum base pay. It was $160,000, and the overall increase is intended to help recruit top talent and retain existing employees. And this move promises to bring Amazon base pay more in line with other big tech companies, including Google, Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft. Historically, Amazon kept its base pay lower, making up the difference to restricted stock units and cash compensation, such as sign-on bonus paid over a couple of years. So that's big. It's a big, big number. If you think about what it costs now for tech talent, programmers and such, it's amazing prices for stuff are staying the way they are because that's just such a big, big, big number. It's a competitive space out there, and these tech folks can basically demand almost what they want from a salary standpoint. So time will tell where this goes. Google TV may soon block certain adult content from automatically playing. The launcher could also add a watch list for kids' profiles and free Google TV channels. So these changes were discovered in a string of code as part of the most recent Google TV update. And basically, Google could make the streaming experience on many of the best Android TVs a lot safer for young viewers. They're apparently developing a new feature for Google TV that will prevent adult content from automatically playing on the home screen. And it's dubbed the restricted mode. As implies, the feature will make hiding age-inappropriate content from kids a breeze. However, restricted mode appears to be effective only on ad-supported free movies and TV shows, as well as their trailers. To lock this setting, you need to use your PIN. So, you also set up a kids profile in Google TV, which is interesting in itself, too. I'm not going to be setting up any kids profiles. There's none around for me to set up. I covered this a little bit later. We'll get. Oh, no, we didn't. Or did we? Let me look. Double check. Yeah. Comparison website PriceRunner has sued Google for manipulating search results. So PriceRunner is a company out of Europe, and they're suing Google for 2.1 billion euros or $2.4 billion for breaching EU antitrust laws by manipulating search results in favor of their own comparison shopping services. The company said in a press release that by manipulating search results, Google's caused to harm European consumers who overpaying when shopping online has caused harm to PriceRunner and other comparison shopping services. PriceRunner is a comparison service with 2.3 million products from 6,000 retailers. The company's services are used every month by consumers who compare products, prices, specifications, read professional product tests, and consumer reviews. And they're saying we're seeking compensation for the damage Google has caused. He says, the CEO of this company, PriceRunner, it's a matter of survival for many European entrepreneur companies and job opportunities within tech. He says if American tech giants, through a market position equal to a monopoly, are allowed to do exactly as they please and manipulate markets, we can almost certainly count on the fact that many tech companies in Europe will be affected far beyond the comparison shopping market in focus today. He believes that Google has not complied with the European Commission's 2017 decision to find the company is still abusing its dominant search power. So we'll see if they how they do with this. With them sentiments now in Europe, it doesn't bode well for Google. These companies have gotten so big and powerful. You know, the mere threat of removing Facebook and Instagram from EU would terrify many that uses the product and service every day and maybe bring enough pressure. So we'll see. Verizon contracts for smartphones, other devices expand to 3 years. Want to get a smartphone from Verizon? Prepare to lock in for a longer-term contract. Previously, Verizon offered payment options stretching from either 24 to 30 months. Users still have the option to pay off. According to the Verizon website, the 36-month plans apply to devices, including smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and mobile hotspot devices. Verizon says if you had a 24 or 30-month agreement before February 3rd, your contract terms will stay the same. So 36 months now, I guess, if you're going to buy a phone and finance it through them. A little space news here. NASA outlines cost savings for the International Space Station transition. So NASA expects retiring the International Space Station in favor of leasing capacity in commercial space will ultimately save the agency up to $1.8 billion a year. That estimate comes from this ISS transition report. This is an updated report from 2018. NASA currently spends $3.1 billion a year on the space station program, with more than $1.3 billion going toward the operation of the station and research performed there, and nearly $1.8 billion on crew and cargo transportation. A chart including the transition report projected spending to remain flat through fiscal year 2027. And then spending would temporarily increase in 2028 as NASA begins efforts to decommission the station. That decommissioning will include deorbiting the station by 2031 through the use of 3 Progress cargo spacecraft or possibly a Cygnus cargo spacecraft to bring the station down over an uninhabited region of the South Pacific, regularly used for deorbiting spacecraft. So we will see where this goes from 2028 to 2031. A few $100 million of the cost currently borne by the SS program will shift to other parts of the agency. So a lot of money to get to space. It's not cheap in any way. U.S. Space Force Orbital Prime project aims to attack space debris by recycling and removing junk. And they're going to get some studies going. They want companies to get involved. So they're spending a couple of $1 million, not too much. Phase 1 awards valued $250,000 for research. Phase 2 at $1.5 million. And they're just looking for ideas. How to get rid of space junk. That's not a lot of money trying to get rid of space junk, considering you're spending how much to put stuff in space. Apple, of course, has been fined again over a Dutch dating app. Now their fine is up to 15 million euros. The penalty relates to an order by the Competition Authority requiring Apple to allow local dating apps to use third-party payment providers for sales of digital content, rather than maintaining these apps uses Apple's own payment infrastructure. Of course, Apple's been fighting the Dutch order since last year and continues to appeal it, but last month, as it first signed for compliance with threat of a penalty loomed, they agreed to let apps plug into alternative payment tech, saying they'd be releasing two optional new entitlements exclusive for dating apps on Netherlands App Store, so they could provide additional payment processing. But Apple's claim of compliance quickly met by fine by the ACM for non-compliance. The regulator took issue with Apple foot dragging on fulfilling all the requirements of the order. So they're not happy. But if they get this through, then it's a first foothold into breaking up this monopoly Apple has with app developers. Google's February update fixes an annoying Pixel 6 keyboard and camera bug. Last update was anything but smooth. So if you've got a Pixel 6 or Pixel 6 Pro, so a fix for the bug that could cause your phone to reboot while using the camera, fix for audio playback, disconnecting with certain Bluetooth devices, improvements to Bluetooth audio quality for certain codecs, and a fix for the keyboard covering up your input text in certain conditions. So a little bit of an update for those of you that have a Pixel phone. Microsoft, and this is not surprising, Microsoft will start blocking downloaded macros in Office versions going back to 2013. Enabling macros for those files will be possible, but much more difficult. If you download a macro from the web, which are often full of malware, aka causing stuff like ransomware, they're basically any macro that's downloaded from the internet will automatically be disabled by default. Current version of software offer an alert banner on these kinds of files that can be clicked through, but the new version of the banner offers no way to enable the macros except on a one-by-one basis. Companies can set policy levels on this, and the change will be enabled for all current supported standalone versions of Office, including 2020 and 1916 through 2013. The Mac, iOS, Android, and web version of Office won't be affected. So a little bit of a move here. That's always been a gateway for people, Office and their macros. There's a rumor out Apple will introduce new iPhone, iPad on March 8th. iOS 15.4 will add universal control and mask-friendly Face ID in March as well. So, report claims that Apple hosts this year's event on March 8th. And the report names 4 major announcements expected at the event. In contrast to some of the recent newsletter, he cites sources familiar with Apple's plans. The phone will be an iPhone SE with 5G capabilities, has long been rumored. The source also said the mid-range sport will have a faster processor and improved camera. Also, we're going to get a refresh of the iPad Air. So we will see where this leads to. More M1 chip stuff, I'm sure. Joe Rogan is still with Spotify. The Spotify CEO apologized to staff, but won't back down over Joe Rogan's stance, even though they removed 70 of his episodes off their platform. So they're holding the line here with Joe Rogan's. Remember, he's not a podcast anymore. He's just creating programming for Spotify. He could become a podcaster. Heard there was another $100 million offer from Rumble or another platform that said, hey, come over here. We'll give you $100 million over 4 years if Spotify kicks you off. So Rogan may have another home to go to. So we talked about Wi-Fi 6E a little bit on the last show, but chip supply problems might mean Wi-Fi 6E is skipped over for Wi-Fi 7. And it's all about the chips. Can't get chips. Although manufacturers might have launched Wi-Fi 6E devices, such products are either not available or they are in very limited supply because of the general shortage of semiconductor components, not just Wi-Fi semiconductors, owing to the pandemic impacting production in countries where the chips are manufactured. So the ecosystem doesn't have any 6E smartphones, tablets as well, and probably any computers. So that's an issue as well. If your device won't support it, what's the use? Matrix Resurrection co-producer sues Warner Brothers over disappointing box office profits. They're pissed that they released it at the same time on their digital platform as it was in the movie theater. I must admit it was great to watch it in the movie theater. I enjoyed it, watching it there versus on my flat screen. So it's only done $37.2 million because a lot of people went digital. So they're not happy and they are suing. The Internal Revenue Service kills plans to verify taxpayers with facial recognition database. Uncle Sam's basically has gotten some pushback from both Democrats and Republicans saying that, hey, are you really ready for this? And essentially, according to Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, he said the Treasury Department has made the smart decision to direct the IRS to transition away from using these controversial ID.me verification services. I understand the transition process will take time, but I appreciate the administration recognize that privacy and security are not mutually exclusive, and no one should be forced to submit to facial recognition to access critical government services. They're looking to deploy authentication mechanisms without facial recognition. So we'll see where that goes. A Twitch streamer who said, hey, I got a big donation. I'm worried some kid used his dad's credit card. He reported to Twitch because he got a $1,200 donation. Twitch took his account away from being able to be monetized through bits donations for basically reporting the potential of someone giving him money that probably shouldn't have gave him money or was using somebody's credit card. But it's taken a little while, and Uber Gizmo reporting that this guy finally got his account back, but took several months. But didn't pay to report. If he'd kept his mouth shut, he just got the $1,200 and he would have went on fat, stupid, and happy and kept on going. Instead, Twitch put the hammer on him. Microsoft is apparently working on several new Windows 11 features. And so what are they trying to do? And it appears that the company's working on a desktop stickers and a Windows 11 tablet mode, despite not naming them. Eagle Eyes user spotted a few features in the works, including new stickers feature and an upcoming tablet mode for Windows 11. So we'll see. And they have screenshots. For those of you that are Windows users, you can definitely check it out. Amazon and Nike are exploring buying Peloton. And apparently Peloton is taking a bit of a beating here recently because the people are returning to the gym, and they've had a few people die of heart attacks. Specific TV characters had heart attacks when using Peloton machines. Amazon declined to confirm or deny whether it was considering making an offer for the U.S. exercising equipment manufacturer, but it did send shares in the firm surging more than 30% after hours trading. So the Peloton and Nike did not immediately respond to requests for comments. So we'll see. How many of you have a Peloton? How many of you doing the biking thing? Report that the Galaxy S22 will use plastic from recycled fishing nets. And that's going to be featured across the entire product line. Samsung said it will incorporate repurposed ocean-bound plastics across its whole product lineup, and its first example will be Galaxy device introduced at its Unpacked event this Wednesday. It's not yet clear to what the extent the material will be used or in which parts. Samsung isn't explicit how it fits into any device's construction. I'm sure it will be a small bit. Is this just a publicity pay? We know that there's lots of fishing nets that go into the ocean every year. Tons and tons of them. SpaceX, NASA is looking into sluggish chutes, parachutes on the last 2 flights. So one of the 4 main parachutes was slow to inflate during the return of 4 astronauts to Earth last November. The same thing happened last week as a Dragon cargo capsule was bringing back science experiments. In both cases, the sluggish parachute eventually opened and inflated, although more than a minute late, and the capsule splashed down safely off the Florida coast. Officials both for SpaceX and NASA said Friday they want to better understand what's happening. And what's interesting is the chutes that SpaceX is using will be the same exact ones that are used on the Boeing Starliner's crew capsule as well. So this data will be shared. This is not the first time this has happened, and but they're trying to figure out the dynamics here of what's going on. Article over in Geek News Central. Twitter wants to make harassment easier. Twitter is exploring a new way to send direct messages on iOS, and it involves letting users slide into your inbox through a link on your tweet, bypassing the DM button on your profile. The Verge reported. Twitter says this will make it easier to start a conversation from your timeline, and it's obvious here how things could go badly. Right now, if you want to send someone a DM on Twitter, you need to click on the person's profile and click the envelope icon. That will open up a message to that person. You'll see it along with whatever other messages you have. Next, you need to type something in the box that appears to send the DM. Basing nothing more than a tweet from @Twitter support, it appears the ability to send DMs right from your timeline allows a person to bypass the usual way DMs are sent. Sending a DM would become a one-click situation. And people are not happy about that because of sometimes when people are seeing DMs, they just want to be mean. So a spokesperson from Twitter sent The Verge a statement. This particular experiment is not changing the current settings of anyone's DM. We're always exploring ways to make DMs more accessible and valuable for people on Twitter, and they'll remain in control. Anyone has the ability to close their DMs in their settings. So this is a very interesting article. Now, I didn't hear about this, but former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg's children were apparently targeted for kidnapping by a gentleman by the name of Joseph Beecher. According to report, appears Beecher was looking for the Bloomberg daughters, Emma and Georgina, but after breaking into the home and discovering they weren't there, he ended up kidnapping the housekeeper, Amanda Enninger, but not before he demanded to know if the daughters were on the property. He then forced her to drive to Wyoming. He also made her withdraw cash from an ATM. And what led to his eventual arrest was when investigators discovered the housekeeper's location via her iPad. But it's unclear if they used Apple's Find My network. If Apple's Find My network was involved or if the location was discovered another way. But, he's been arrested for kidnapping or took her from New York to Wyoming. It's a little bit crazy. But apparently she had her iPad with her, and he didn't know that the iPad was tracking where she went. And they were able to get a bead on her. So that's pretty doggone awesome. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. We don't have a lot of content today just because there has been it's a little short on news. But I did get a couple of emails here that I want to read. Got an email from Eric. He said, did you ever hear anything more on Starlink? We're wintering in Orlando, and it's been neat to watch them go up, but also makes me wonder when they'll go live in my town. And basically, he had signed up and knows that there's a delay. But they're saying April, but we'll see when I get. Also, Bob said, hey, I forgot to mention there was a trailing commercial. Oh, so I guess some of you are hearing post rolls at the end of the podcast as well. So I found that interesting. The new ad insertion system we're testing is doing post rolls as well. But yeah, nothing new on Starlink. They say April, but again, supply shortages abound. So we'll see what happens here. I'm sure it's probably going to be later than that before it's all over. All right, this is going to bring us to the end of the podcast. This is a short one. Sorry I got started late tonight, but tried to overcome some of my internal tech issues. You guys didn't hear it. I did. It just bugs me. I'll get in there and wiggle the cables over the next couple of days and make sure everything's going good. But again, as a reminder, the studio was designed by our good friends at audimute.com, AUDIMUTE.com. It doesn't matter if you're building a podcast studio or if you're just looking for sound conditioning, that is the company to go to. Tell Kevin I sent you over there. They'll hook you up, and you can do your own design, and they'll print them the way you want them to look. But again, thanks for supporting the sponsor here, GoDaddy, geeknesscentral.com/GoDaddy. And those of you that are insiders, thank you for your continued support as an insider at geeknesscentral.com/insider. 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, or $25 a month donations are greatly appreciated. Those one-time donations are fantastic as well. The electricity bill here has been a little heavy, so because of everything going on with winter. So I'm hoping you guys will continue to up your ante in supporting the show. Again, sorry about no show last Thursday, but Mother Nature played their own games, and I didn't want to risk going in the ditch. So this is going to bring the show to the end. Everything thanks beer. Hopefully no snow this Thursday night. There's none in the forecast. Keep our fingers crossed. We'll see you then. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.